And now, Kevin McPherson with your B-Ball Knowledge Bombs.
We're here with Kevin McPherson from Sporting Life Arkansas. You can see his coverage there at sportinglifearkansas.com. He's also a contributor to hogville.net. And don't forget to follow Kevin on Twitter at ARHoopscoop. And Kevin, I know we got a lot to talk about, but we got to start with this commitment of MJones from Connors State.
Yeah, Mike, MJones, he's a 6'5" wing out of Connors State, like you mentioned. He was a freshman qualifier, which means typically JUCOs have to go 2 years and complete junior college before they can have 2 years of eligibility to play on the next level. But when there's a qualifier coming straight out of high school, a lot of guys will go to JUCO for various reasons. Typically, it's because they want to keep their options open for a bigger offer, maybe a Division I school as opposed to maybe where their development was at Division II. Anyway, MJones is a freshman qualifier. This means he'll have 3 years of playing eligibility beginning next season, 2018-19, as a sophomore at Arkansas. When we were on the show Thursday, I was talking about Arkansas was expecting to have up to 2 visitors over the weekend. I did not share those names. I've been asked not to reveal that. Later that afternoon, it got out on social media that MJones was one of those official visitor. I ended up talking to him and getting quotes from him prior to his visit on Thursday, and he talked about Arkansas and his relationship with Mike Anderson and Coach Cleveland as though he was already part of the team. So it almost seemed like a formality of the visit, and that's how it played out on Saturday. During his visit, a source told me that he committed to the Arkansas coaches at dinner. The next thing you know, we broke the story on social media, on Twitter, that he had committed, and that was confirmed shortly after that. Also, over the weekend, Mason told me that he would be signing with Arkansas on this coming Wednesday, a couple of days from now, April 11th. That's the first day of the spring signing period. So here's a guy that when I watch him on tape, really good shooter from behind the three-point line, and it's not just the fact that he can knock down the shot. It's how he gets himself open. Of course, when he takes his time, he's a little bit deliberate when he's wide open, but he also does a great job of using subtle moves, quick moves, maybe a ball fake, maybe just a side step or a jab step. There's not a lot of wasted motion, not a lot of wasted dribbling as he gets into his look from three. So here's a guy that knows how to create his own shot from three. So some of his highlights revealed a willingness to put the ball on the floor and drive. And I'm just looking at his numbers, 15.5 points as a freshman at Connors State, almost 7 rebounds, 6.9 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.5 steals. He shot 51.5% from the floor. That includes almost 43% from the three-point line. And he shot 77.5% at the free throw line. So this looks like a good pickup for Arkansas, especially in the spring on the heels of, earlier in the week, 2 guys announcing that they're going to transfer, 2 basically wings, backcourt players, and you turn around and replace with the player that looks good on film in terms of being a perimeter threat. And Arkansas obviously needs that with a guy like C.J. Jones departing. The other thing I'll say about MJones is his brother played at Duke. People may remember the name Matt Jones. He was a McDonald's All-American. His sister, Jordan Jones, played at Texas A&M, another McDonald's All-American. So, basketball runs in the family. We'll see what Mason brings to the table. But if you're Arkansas, you probably like the fact that the guy's a year removed from high school and has already gotten some acclimation to a college-type setting and playing in a college program. Even though it's JUCO, you get the sense that, this might be helpful not to have just another freshman with that 18 class, that you've got somebody that will actually, track graduating and departing and freeing up a scholarship a year sooner as well. So Arkansas, like I said, wasted no time getting back after things for this class to help fill a void that was left by the departures of C.J. Jones and Darius Hall. And Arkansas is also looking at a couple of other players.
So with one scholarship left, Kevin, who else is on the radar to possibly fill that last void?
Well, Arkansas, I had mentioned during the show on Thursday that Arkansas had the 2 secret, they're going to have a couple of visitors. We talked a little bit about Tory Miller Stewart. The plan was he was going to be one of those. MJones obviously made it and committed, but Tory Miller Stewart is a senior grad transfer at Colorado. He broke his foot. I think he played 6 games through November. He's going to have a medical hardship in a 5th year to compete. I believe his intention is to transfer out. And he's the nephew of Clint McDaniel, the Arkansas great, one of the best backcourt defenders ever, and played on the national championship team in 93, 94. But he's a player that, before he got injured was averaging a little over 6 points, about 5 rebounds a game, playing about 22 minutes as a starter. He may be looking for a starting role. I was told he was trying to make it to campus this past weekend with his parents to visit, and that didn't happen. And, it may end up being that he ends up looking for a place where he's not a backup like he would be with Gafford. And so we'll keep an eye on that. But really a new name that popped up on the radar as well over the weekend was Cortez Cooper. He's a 6'9" forward center with a 7'5" wingspan. He was a freshman qualifier just like Mason Jones, so he has 3 years of eligibility at the D1 level. But he plays at Triton College. He's from Elgin, Illinois. His team just played in the Division II National Junior College Association title game, but he averaged this past season 10 points, 6.7 rebounds, 2.9 blocks, shot almost 56% from the field, including 39% from three. Now, he only took 32 or 33 threes, so he basically averaged one attempt per game. So not a volume shooter from out there, but the fact that a 6'9" guy with a 7'5" wingspan can step out and knock it down at that clip is, something to consider. And he shot over almost 72% from the free throw line. So, definitely some numbers if you're looking at a guy that was a freshman in JUCO. If you brought him in with his size, he would play a year behind Gafford and then have 2 years of eligibility left. And you hope, he adds weight and strength and developing. When I watch him on film, he's got a nice soft touch. Not the strongest guy. I noticed he was defensively, guys backed him down a little bit and finished the rim. So just things he can work on. But, that 7'5" wingspan, I keep bringing that up, averaging nearly 3 blocks a game. He told me, he goes, I was a big shot blocker. That's the biggest draw with me. And offensively, I've added different things, face-up game, post moves. And so here's a guy that, has tried to improve himself offensively. Definitely a name to keep an eye on because Arkansas coaches are going to go out to see him on Friday, he told me, of this week. LSU just offered him on Friday of last week, and he's got Cincinnati and New Mexico State also on the radar. So he told me he wants to take an official visit to Arkansas. But, again, the coaches are going to go out and see him on Friday. So we'll see if he formally gets offered then. He thinks he's going to get an offer then. So that's Cortez Cooper. We also talked about Jabril Price-Noel on Thursday, and I'd mentioned that Arkansas coach Mike Anderson and Melvin Watkins, associate head coach, were heading out to Southwest Christian Academy later that afternoon to watch him, and I went out to their practice like I often do, and sure enough, they were there. They were able to take in his practice, and then they talked to him extensively after the practice, and I interviewed him after that, and he basically told me, look, they want to see me again. They want me to come on an official visit. So an offer is probably Arkansas kind of moves slow on those things, especially if a player hasn't been on campus to taking a visit. They typically don't offer, or they formalize the offer at that point. So we'll see what happens there. 6'6", 6'7" wing out of Toronto, led Southwest Christian Academy, a loaded team with D1 players, in scoring this year with 17 points, shot nearly 50% from the field, 44% from three, almost 80% from the free throw line. Houston, Ole Miss, or Oklahoma State are some of the teams that have been recruiting him. He's got a ton of mid-major offers, but those are some of the bigger name schools after him. And then, as we move along and start kind of looking ahead a little bit, Javon Franklin, the 6'6" combo forward out of Little Rock Parkview that played his freshman season at Holmes Community College, JUCO, this year. I saw him over the weekend at Real Deal in the Rock, and he told me once again that Arkansas is at the top of his wish list. But I can tell you Memphis and Penny Hardaway, and he played on Team Penny in grassroots basketball, they're on him right now, and I'm told, that they're in contact with his family and definitely interested in adding him to the Memphis Tigers team. But Mississippi State's involved, Oklahoma, so the Kansas State. So there's several high major programs that are zeroing in on Javon Franklin. But as of now, Arkansas remains at the top of his wish list for that 2019 class. And Czar Perry, who was a senior last year at El Dorado, year before last with Dan Gafford, Arkansas fans remember that name. A lot of folks wanted him on to make his way somehow on the roster this year and be a freshman at Arkansas. He ended up signing with the JUCO. Then he got qualified, and then he got out of the JUCO signing and signed with Northwestern State in the Southland Conference, a Division I school. Played a few games there, had some good scoring games, ended up deciding to transfer out. He's also going to play next year at Holmes Community College over there with Javon Franklin. And what a 1-2 punch that'll be. Franklin's one of the most explosive leapers and dunkers around, and then Sar Perry's one of the most explosive backcourt players I've seen, especially 6 foot and under. So that's going to be some highlight reel making next year at Holmes Community College. And who knows, Perry might end up on Arkansas's radar one way or another. And one more thing, Mike, I wanted to tell you about that Southwest Christian Academy practice. Tim Caesar, the 6'8" forward out of Marion, he'll be a senior next year. Had a really strong season with Southwest Christian, injured his knees, had knee surgery. He'll be on crutches for a couple more months, trying to get cleared to play July grassroots with the Arkansas Hawks organization. But he was there at practice, and Coach Mike Anderson spent a lot of time talking to him. So I know Arkansas is still recruiting him. Don't want him to be forgotten by Arkansas fans just because he's out hurt right now, because here's a guy that could be the best big in the state next year as a senior.
Well, those are definitely some interesting developments on the recruiting front, Kevin, and, of course, a great update as always. We're going to keep you going, though, for the next segment, Kevin. And, folks, remember, follow him on Twitter at ARHoopscoop. Of course, you can see his contributions to hogville.net and, of course, read his articles at sportinglifearkansas.com. But next, we're going to talk about some of the ongoings over the past handful of days in the high school basketball world.
On myself, think I'll dust them off.